Update, guys. I know what everyone must be thinking. Well, at least anyone that keeps up with my channel. You're wondering where I've been. At one point, I was coming out with a story every Sunday. I was pretty consistent for months. And I even got compliments on how I could do such a thing. And to be honest, I wondered that very same question. I don't think anyone can. And the truth is, the stories, they're not mine. I didn't write them. I just happened to use them. Don't judge me. I'm not a thief or anything like that. Or maybe I am. I'm not too sure. I don't know where the stories came from. Or more specifically, the origins. Let me explain. I've always been a bit cheap. Actually, I think frugal is the better term to use. So being my frugal self, I decided to scour the pawn shops for a new laptop. Well, new to me and used to others. I must have searched endlessly for the perfect deal. I needed something with good processing power and memory. Finally, I found the perfect one. It was a bit old, but the hardware was solid. I found it at a pawn shop on the outskirts of town. I recommend for you to look there when shopping for cost-effective items. Most of those country hicks don't even know what they have. Funny enough, the computer wasn't of any brand that I knew of. I figured it might have been a custom build back in the days, but didn't let that sway my opinion on buying it. As soon as I got home, I promptly set the laptop on my kitchen table, preparing to set it up. And to my dismay, the darn thing didn't want to turn on. This was upsetting, since at the pawn shop the clerk turned it on with no problem, even showcasing the speed of the computer. And I scratched my head for several seconds, and a bit of anger crept into the forefront of my mind. At this point, I was thinking about returning the stupid thing, but then remembered there was a no return policy. So, reluctantly, I decided to try to fix it. I mean, what other choice did I have? On my phone, I looked up different reasons of why a laptop wouldn't want to boot up. The first suggestion, though, was simple. Taking out the hard drive and inserting it back in. It reminded me of the old days, of taking a Nintendo cartridge out and blowing inside of it to make it work. I chuckled at such a thought, but decided to give it a try. As I pulled on the compartment where the hard drive was stored, it seemed to be stuck. I pulled with effort, but it didn't give way. I banged on it a few times and my fingers slipped, causing me to cut myself. Ah! Damn it! I yelped out. By this time, I was all but too frustrated, and I slammed the laptop back onto my dining room table with sheer malice. Blood began trickling down my finger as I sucked on it, trying to ease the slight pain I had. I don't know what it was. Perhaps my last feeble attempt before waving the white flag, but I figured, why not trying to turn it on again? Maybe the hard slam is all that I needed to turn on. I mean, that's how we used to fix things back in the day. So with my still bleeding index finger outstretched, I hovered over the power button and breathed in deeply with hope that this thing would finally work. To my delight, it turned on. I practically jumped from joy as the hugest smile grew on my once defeated face. Finally feeling my anxiety subsiding, I treated my finger, bandaging it with a band-aid. For the rest of the night, I did the usual. Set up my programs and bookmarks when browsing the internet. I snacked on chip after chip as I continued the process into the night. That's when I decided to do a little sleuthing, understanding this was a used computer. Perhaps some of the previous owner's things were still on there. I mean, come on. What person wouldn't want to find some juicy sex video? So I went through the folders and found nothing. I felt a bit disappointed, but didn't give it too much thought. I was about to call it a night, my hand on the screen ready to shut the laptop closed when I remembered the trash bin. I forgot the trash folder. Maybe there was something there. My curiosity took over as I left the laptop open, guiding my mouse over to the trash container. To my astonishment, there was something. A folder. I couldn't read the title of it unless I restored it, which I quickly did. It showed up on the desktop. I stared at it for a few seconds, completely bewildered at the title. Bleed for me, and I'll read for you. It took me several seconds to adjust my brain to what I was reading. It was the most bizarre name for a folder, but I've seen crazier things on the internet, and quickly gathered myself as I clicked the folder open. I was a bit disappointed to see it was all Word documents. At least 5. I clicked the first one open. It was titled, A Story for You. I read through it and quickly came to the revelation it was just a story. A fictional one. In fact, these were all stories. I read through each one, enjoying the premise the more I immersed myself into the dark tales. I liked the writing style. The words seemed to connect with me as if some symbiotic relationship formed between us. I know I must sound crazy, but I must have read these stories 10 times. At first, I engulfed myself in the mystery of who wrote them. There was no mention of the writer, no acknowledgement of anyone. I mean, why wouldn't someone want the credit of writing these stories? I didn't ponder on the question too long. Instead, I realized that these stories needed to be told. Other people had to hear the alluring words that have completely captivated me. So I decided to create a YouTube channel where I would narrate them. I have to admit, it was fun. And initially, the stories got some good views. Heck, even some comments. I smiled at the thought that people were praising me and adulation for writing these stories. So from that moment, I decided to take credit. Why not? I figured I did buy the laptop, so technically these stories belong to me. Quickly, the weeks passed. I produced and uploaded the 5 stories, each one doing pretty well. But the most devastating epiphany dawned on me. What would I read next? The stories were done. I wanted to keep this channel going. It was too fun. The attention, it was too enchanting to relinquish. So I gave writing a shot. I must say, it's a lot more difficult than it looks. I must have wrote several stories that just didn't make any sense. They read as if a 3rd grader had written them. I was desperate. I didn't know what to do. I even thought about using AI to write me a new story, but I knew the writing style wouldn't match. I sat at my laptop for hours just staring at the screen, that blinking cursor taunting me, a repetitive symbolism of failure. I clicked over to the mystifying folder where the stories were saved, thinking if I read through them again I would be inspired. But that's when I noticed the folder's title had changed. It now read something completely different. It read, Blood tells a gripping tale, nourishment from the endless sea, feed me more. I didn't know what to think. I mean, how was this even possible? My first thought was I perhaps got hacked. I didn't know. I grasped at my head, perplexed, not knowing what the words even meant. Then it dawned on me. My finger. I looked down at it, the small gash still visible, but virtually healed. The blood. It was the blood. I don't know how I knew this, but I needed more stories. And I was out of ideas. I bit into my finger, tearing open the wound. A tiny stream of blood flowed into my mouth. With my finger outstretched, I looked at my laptop, not knowing where to touch the computer. Last time it was the power button. So I did the same. I delicately floated my bleeding finger over the power button. And to my bewilderment, the screen started pulsating. Intermittent flashes erupted almost as if the darn thing was going to explode. I felt a slight suction on my finger. The laptop was drinking from my body. and the most grotesque sound of slurping cautiously fluttered in the air. I was utterly confounded, but once the computer settled down, the flashing subsided, and the slurping halted. And like magic, 5 more stories appeared in the folder. As the months passed, I repeated the ghastly ritual several times, befuddled each time I did it. Life seemed to be going good. My channel was steadily growing. My stories were being appreciated. It felt as if the universe itself had opened up its arms and embraced me in a cosmic hug, leaving me floating in a realm of pure bliss. Though, happiness is but only a moment in time, and the revelation of crashing back to reality hit me hard. The laptop stopped producing stories. I must have cut myself in different ways in different parts of my body, trying to feed it. And I even became faint at how much blood I lost. I was defeated once again, not knowing what to do. I sobbed with absolute anguish, just wanting more stories. Then the computer spoke to me again, as it has done. Well, not directly, but the folder. It changed. A hideous smirk grew on my frantic face. I didn't hesitate. I did what it wanted me to do. Thirst is only quenched with a fruitful fountain, it read. I first started with my neighbor. My laptop loved him. It practically drank him dry, leaving his corpse pale as the midnight moon. Luckily, I had plenty of neighbors. I live in an apartment building after all. I virtually have the entire floor vacant now. No one seems to notice the missing people. I find it funny. But now, there's no one left. No more neighbors. I can feel my computer getting impatient, its anger protruding through the screen. The folder's title keeps changing, its tone becoming more ominous, more demanding. This is why I haven't came out with a new story lately. I had to be honest. Let everyone know where I've been. Not to worry though. I am back. More stories will be produced because, to my delight, I see a moving truck outside my window. I hear voices coming from next door. I just got a new neighbor. Hi guys. Hope you liked the story. I know it was a bit, what's it called? Meta, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I've been gone for a while. I know I've been writing shorts, but I know it's not the same as a full-length story. And it's been kind of a wild time because I have so much work. But also I've been kind of like just suffering from writer's block. Like no fresh ideas. And something else I noticed, that when I had the goal of writing a story every week, I feel like my stories were becoming like redundant. I felt like it was, I understand it's like the same genre, but even the plot devices, I felt like I was almost writing the same story over and over again. It felt superfluous. So I thought to myself, okay, work on some stories you actually feel more passionate about and you like writing about, and then, narrate them once you're done. So I've been working on several stories that I'm like super excited about, and hopefully people listen to them and they like them. We'll see. So this is one of the stories I've been kind of working on just to kind of break the ice, but I have some cool ones coming up. And then something else also, I finally decided to go ahead and start uploading to Reddit, No Sleep Reddit. So you'll find my stories trickling in there. And so pretty soon you'll probably see some of my stories that I've narrated before show up on other people's channels. Like I already had a couple of other narrators ask if they could use my stories. And I said, sure, why not? My voice, my works should be shared with the world, I thought. Anyway, so you might see these stories retold on other people's channels. We'll see what happens. Either way, guys, I hope you've been good. I hope you're having a great weekend, and I hope you have a great week. I'm in Texas, so it's like super hot. Hopefully wherever you are, it's not as hot. So, alrighty, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.